Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is a special bonus episode of 70mm, a podcast for film lovers. Normally, I sit down to talk about movies with my close personal friend and artist, Danny Haas, and our spiritual advisor and movie insider, Proto Alexis. But this episode, it's all about TV, specifically Stranger Things 4 streaming on Netflix. Now, we know nobody could fill the vegan shoes of the movie insider himself, but we needed someone to tag in for Proto, who had a deep knowledge and love for the Stranger Things universe, and that's the former producer of this very show, Ian DeBorja. We hope you dig this rare TV-focused episode of 70mm. First ever TV episode. Is that right, Danny? Have we ever done a TV episode in the history of the show?
I mean, we have, but we can call this the big one.
What was the last one we did?
We did Young Indiana Jones.
Oh, that's right. God, it feels like a decade ago. Feels like an eternity ago.
It was.
You might have noticed that Proto's not here. Proto still has about 30 hours of Stranger Things to watch before he could be on a Stranger Things 4 season 4 episode. So we called upon our former producer of this very podcast, allegedly disgraced, now host of the Cinenauts podcast, which traverses the Criterion Collection. Ian, welcome back.
Slim, Danny, pleasure to be here. I've always said if I were ever to come back on the show, it'd have to be without Proto, so.
The last time you were on the show, I checked the tapes, March 2020 Arrival. Is that true?
Yeah. Insane.
God, what an app, huh? The Arrival app? You remember that?
Great. I know. Every time someone joins the Village, 70mmpod.com, check it out. Whenever someone puts in like Arrival as one of their favorite episodes, I'm like, nice.
So just before, this is a bonus episode. This is a surprise drop. We felt we had to do a Stranger Things season 4 episode because of the feelings that we felt these last few days. So Ian has left us. Ian was a producer 120 episodes ago. He left onto greener pastures to host his own podcast, which, by the way, Dale, our current producer emeritus, he was just on an episode of Cinenauts doing Wet Hot American Summer, for God's sake.
Yes. All my top 4 of Letterboxd, also on Dale's top 4 on Letterboxd, and he and I basically hold hands throughout the whole episode. And Boom was there just along for the ride. But Boom also loved the movie, so that was good. I was a little nervous she was going to hate it, and then it'd be me just like texting Dale on the side. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'll edit this out. I'll edit this out. But none of that happened, which is always good.
Danny, what do you think of that episode?
Great episode. It was great.
The delayed answer.
Have you ever seen that, Danny?
I
No, right?
haven't. That's why I haven't watched it or listened.
No.
I haven't seen it.
It's a Christmas morning movie watch. For
Yeah,
Danny
right.
This year.
That's what I hear.
So we will stick to our normal format. This is a bonus episode. There's no BS ahead of the show. No more bull S, as Tim Heidecker says.
Save your 1-star Apple reviews for this one.
Save it for this one.
Save it.
So our normal format, usually we'll go through, each host has 3 things we want to call out about what we're discussing. And in this case, it's season 4 of Stranger Things. So if you haven't finished yet, shut it off. Get out of here. And I think, normally we have Proto give a synopsis, but I feel like it's probably not right for anyone to give a synopsis without Proto, right? We should honor him by not giving a synopsis.
Could you imagine if I gave one our DMs what they would look like? Oh my God. It'd be a disaster.
He would not be happy. He would just be passively aggressively trolling you in the 5 discords that we're all a part of. Multi-stream aggression.
He'd be like Vecna in all the discords just attacking me with his eyes shut, looking through.
His Discord tendrils would just be named the different servers. So this is the entire season 4 of Stranger Things we're going to talk about. And we have been discussing it in various forms, but not really like in a large way. So let's start with Danny. First of all, the art is insane. The art of this episode. Oh my God. All-timer.
Mm-hmm.
What's your history with Stranger Things? Do you watch this with the fam? Were you anticipating the season?
My history with Stranger Things is, I believe the first season I was working and the whole family was out of town. Kids were out of town. Casey was out with them. So when it dropped, I got off work at like 5-ish, ordered a large cheese pizza just for myself. And I binged the entire first season in one sitting till like 4 or 5 a.m. because no one was there to stop me. No one was there to stop me. And from then on,
pizza sure wasn't.
No. But
no Apex that night.
No Apex. This has to be pre-Apex, right? First Stranger Things?
For sure.
And then since then I've been hooked. First season, second season, third season was arguably my favorite season of television for a long time. The mall season. Loved that season. Casey watched with me, and up until this fourth season, Olive decided to take the plunge. So we binged the entire season leading up to season 4. And then she watched season 4 with me, and it was magic.
Ian, what about you? Do you remember way back when, those years ago?
Yeah, I remember like the original teaser trailer where it was literally just like the art of the opening credits with the music, and then that was it. They didn't do an official trailer, or none that I saw. And so it had been on my list for a long time. And then when it finally came out, Tara and I think we saw some buzz on Twitter. Was not on my Twitter mute list TM yet. But it was on there. And so I was like, hey, we got to check it out. We watch it. I think we binged the whole thing, like also in like a day or two, which, and honestly, I'm banking on the fact that they're gonna land the ending for season 5, but I would put this in like my top 3 shows.
My God,
all time.
Oh my God, honestly, off the bat, he's claiming top 3 all time.
Yeah, honestly, like I have that much faith in the Duffer Brothers, to take us home.
My favorite part about Ian's illustrious Twitter mute list, he blocks all, social media hype, virality in his Twitter mute list. And yet somehow he's always the one to bring in a tweet or a story about something into our discourse that's like on his mute list. He's like, I just came across this somehow. It doesn't make any sense.
Tara will send me articles because Tara also has the same anti-Twitter hype or anti-Twitter mentality type things. But she doesn't use Twitter mute words, so she'll text me things. And so I have to mute Tara when these shows come out.
Tara is on your life mute list, your own wife.
Oh my God.
I was trying to think back to season 1. Was this one of the earliest ones that just dropped everything? Like at the first season? Right? It was still pretty early on in that kind of like Netflix thing.
No, because like House of Cards did that. This was like... This was super early. This was like their second tentpole after House of Cards. So yeah.
Yeah. And I remember like the buzz being very Amblin, which I'm sure Danny's eyebrows went up. This looks like young kids, sci-fi-ish stuff. I'm all in.
Yes.
I remember really loving the first season. The first time I watched the second season, I thought it was okay. I thought it was a bit too long. And the third season was the big time. That's when it looked like they got all the money and everything looked awesome. And so my family and I, Amanda and James, well, mainly Amanda and I, did a full rewatch ahead of 4 in anticipations. And I actually liked season 2 more this time around. Yeah. So I'm not as hard on season 2.
I've liked all the seasons. Like I don't think there's been a bad season. There was a bad story arc. I think that was season 2 where they go to Chicago, or 11 goes to Chicago.
The sisters,
yeah, and like they've never brought it up again. So obviously they felt the same way. And if you look at a movie ratings website that shall not be named, if you go on like episode listings, it's all like 8s and 9s, and then the Chicago storyline is just like,
everyone brings up that storyline. It's not great. Yeah. So season 4, I think I did eventually give in and watch the trailer, and I loved how it felt like the Nightmare on Elm Street homage was going to be like the hardcore thing this season. and like a being in charge of potentially everything in the Upside Down, like hell yes. Also, like I got Hellraiser vibes too, like from the trailer. So we binged the first part all in one day. Like I had Amanda like, you got to make sure that you're taking off on Friday. Like we're watching this. I think we finished like at midnight, night one.
Matthew, can you stop listening to the stream? Thanks.
And so then part 2 had come out. So James didn't really watch the first part with us, but he went to his cousins and watched everything and then became like enraptured with it. So we all watched the final 2 episodes together and we were all just sitting there. So
can I say something real quick for James? Can you imagine being his age, going to your cousins, binging Stranger Things? Like that's the dream. Like
that's a big memory. That's a formative memory.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So true. Jealous of that.
It's like us watching the Return of the Jedi on VHS or something at our buddy's house. Like that'll be, hopefully that'll be his thing.
Come on now.
Crazy.
So, I might go there, okay? So Danny, what's your number 1 for Stranger Things 4?
I would say my number 1, my favorite thing out of this whole season was the story arc with Max. On top of Sadie's performance as well. I feel like, and I didn't realize how much of a background she has. I think with Broadway, right? Ian, would you know? I think you would know more about that.
Yeah, she was a stage actress. So was Caleb and Dustin. I can't remember Dustin's real name, but those 3, I think, have stage backgrounds. Definitely Dustin. Like he was in like Les Mis when he was a kid and stuff like, or when he was younger.
I've seen him sing and perform and stuff before. But so Sadie and her performance of Max and that story arc of hers grieving Billy, all the way to the end with her allowing Vecna to penetrate her mind again, possess her, to sacrifice herself as a way to defeat him. I was kind of floored every episode that she was in, especially the Billy's episode, or what I forget the title of it. It's like episode
Billy's
4
story or Billy's something.
When we really focus in on her with her grieving, writing her letters, sitting at the tomb or the graveside of Billy, and then being taken to Vecna's altar, and the whole segment of that with Kate Bush is running up a hill. Like you really felt the storytelling, the performance, and just the budget of this show and that whole episode. It looked incredible, performed incredible. And I honestly hope Sadie gets a lot of the accolades. An Emmy,
Oscar,
but yes.
Yeah. The film awards.
Yeah. So for her, she's my number 1 this season. She was incredible. I loved every second of her performance.
Yeah, I really hope Netflix campaigns the shit out of her for this. Like she was incredible. Like everyone is really good. Like I was talking to Tara about this. Like I don't think I've seen a show with this many child actors and they've all like held up through 5 seasons, you know, I mean, 4.5 seasons or whatever. Like that's insane. But Sadie as Max was on another level. Like it wasn't overdone. And like you felt everything, like the way she looked at, it was just incredible. Everything. She was so good. Even
her storyline with Lucas himself and their like estranged kind of relationship felt great too. Like that was well performed, well written, simple, nothing crazy because you're dealing with high school kids and the high school relationship drama. So it was really well done.
Yeah, you were mentioning like how they got so lucky with all these actors, child actors becoming great actors. I just watched Boyhood, which had some of the worst child acting in the history of film. So I needed like a refresher. So just talking about these kids is really warming my heart. But she's also one of my top 3. Her storyline, her depression, and they kind of like, it didn't become a major thing later in the season, but Vecna leaning into the kids that had issues and killing those kids. Like the messed up kids, the kids that were depressed, the kids that have like real problems at home, and spotlighting them. I loved that stuff. That is so cool. And I love the Nightmare on Elm Street homages, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, that episode 4, I think it's Billy's Letter. I think is the title.
Yeah, Letter, yeah.
Or episode 5, whatever that's called. But that like quick shot of all her memories, her happy memories, when it was first happening, I was an effing mess. I thought she was dead. Like, and then like she started remembering, and then she got free, and the music played. I was like, "Is this the greatest moment in the history of television?" Like, not even going to lie. It's so incredible. And then, so that whole stuff is like absolutely legendary. Her first near-death episode absolutely blew my mind.
I mean, her near-death ending as well. I mean, that ending where you think, like when Lucas breaks her Walkman, she can't hear her music.
Oh my God.
He starts snapping her bones. I mean, I think we all set up and we're like, no. And like, there's no way she's made it this long and this is how she's going to go out. And then to even put her in a coma or her fourth death opening the portals, like that's wild. Like so wild for Eleven to also come back and somehow save her. We don't even know yet how that worked. Didn't matter.
Obvious homage to the Matrix with Trinity and Neo.
I was going for some Rise of Skywalker.
Like we'll get into the ending, but I was just a sobbing.
Oh my
mess.
God, could you imagine if it was just L in Max's ear saying "Rise, Max, rise," and then Billy, rise, Max. Oh, Barb, rise.
Yeah, there was. I did see some theories that like the Barb might return in the next season because all hell's gonna break loose. Who knows? Ian, what's your number one?
It was also a Max, so I'll just dive to specifically the graveyard where she's that shot that Danny fucking masterfully put as the artwork for this episode. That shot was just incredible. Like when the three boys fall over and like they're looking up at her, like, oh my God, that was seriously unreal.
Yeah.
And then like kind of tagging on what you said, Slim, about like how it talks about depression and all that sort of stuff, like, and how they make it important that, kids are not good about talking about their feelings often. And like the way they kind of wove that through the whole storyline. And, people on Twitter were complaining that my mute list is unmuted after 4 days, or 3 days. Okay. It's fine. We're saying that like Will and Mike weren't communicating enough. I'm like, well, especially teenage boys, they don't talk about their feelings, like, so the way that's like kind of woven throughout the whole thing, obviously, capstoned with Max versus Vecna and all these sorts of things. It was incredible. So cool to see. And I really like that they take, talking about depression and mental issues in a way that kids will watch it and not have it be so like melodramatic. Like I never watched that show, but 10 Reasons Why, 12, 13 Reasons Why, I think
want to watch that.
Yeah, I don't want to watch it either, but also about like, teenage childlike depression. But I think the way they do it here just works perfectly and is easy to digest and understand.
Right. If Letterboxd had TV for Stranger Things, like my review would have been Disney wishes. Disney effing wishes. How do we get the Duffer Brothers in charge of anything Star Wars related?
Oh my God.
Like, my God. Everyone at Star Wars Lucasfilm should have been fired the day that this season finished. Out the door, close the gates, put the close sign up for like reconstruction. It's over. Like they set the bar. It's insane to me how well done this was. And it just blew my mind.
I just had a vision when I finished the season, like Disney execs, they're all in some text thread or some Slack group, and they're like, "What the fuck? Like how can they honestly?" And again, I was like an Obi-Wan apologist, especially compared to these two. Proto liked it a little bit, I think, from what I understand.
You loved it. You really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit, but obviously there were issues across the way. But like, how can they watch Obi-Wan, which is one of their tentpole shows of the year, and be like, yeah, this is close, like it's completely mind blowing. And then, next month they're going to make $3 billion off whatever movie is about to come out. And they don't put it into like something that is monthly subscribers and like monthly, people paying you. I don't know. It's It's crazy. I don't know how they could walk in with their heads held high at all down there in
I like the
Burbank.
idea that Disney execs are like using Discord to chat during the day.
I was really thinking about the fact that I wonder if my viewing, because I didn't binge this 4th season. I wonder if my viewing as I watched it like a serial of Stranger Things really affected my viewing of Obi-Wan. If they were at separate times, would I feel as strongly? Because I watched both side by side, and it was night and day. I mean, I talked about it on our episode. Like, it was just night and day. Watching an episode of Obi-Wan and then going to an episode of Stranger Things was like, what are we doing?
Watching an episode of Obi-Wan, then going to watch an episode of like Reno 911, it's like night and day too in terms of production value. So
Reno, my God. Danny, what's your number 2 for Stranger Things 4?
Number 2 for me was Henry, the actor, the performance, and I can't think of his name right now. I should have written it down. But Vecna, that storyline when they went to the Arizona, Utah, wherever they were, that bunker, Nina, when she's doing the, in the water, going through her memories, and the story with her and Henry, what I thought was really well done and incredible. And I'm piggybacking on that kind of storyline is the young Elle with the de-aged face. I thought was incredibly done as well. And I liked how they didn't use that as a crutch, and like, not a crutch, but didn't have the full time she was in Nina be kid Elle, because of how that would, I don't know, the little kid face wouldn't last the entire storyline. So cutting back to her actual age was very smart. And then that whole storyline with Henry and her kind of blew my mind. I loved that connection, the two of them.
Jamie Campbell Bower, I think.
Yeah.
And I always, during our binge watch, I kept thinking back because the show opens with like all those mangled bodies from her like.
I wonder if you were going to shut it off. The kid gore.
There was a lot.
Wait, episode 1, season 1 opens with that?
No, episode
also?
1, season 4.
Yeah, okay.
Like, remember, the camera's just like moving forward. Everyone's got those arms. So when Vecna starts doing it, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Something's cooking here. Were all those bodies, were they all like bent like that? So later, when they're getting real close to their backstory, you can really see that, yes, they were mangled the same way. And you're like, oh, okay, something's cooking here. Again, the CG, the de-aging young face, I don't like, they're making it look great. Other shows, perhaps not.
Well, to give Disney a little bone here, they're de-aging Mark Hamill like 80 years, and they're de-aging.
And they're still using
11,
Mark
8.
Hamill in that forest. Why did they still use Mark in the forest with Rosario? Please.
I'll just say that segment also, I loved how for a while we thought that it was 11 that had murdered all those kids. That was a great kind of, because you kind of want that story to be fully told. And I mean, it takes a long time to get to the finale of this season. I love that kind of trickery that we're sitting here thinking, like the Papa saying, "What have you done?" You keep seeing that clip of him, and
Papa,
it's genius.
Papa.
I kind of cringe every time she says Papa. It's just like, can we just stop? Please stop.
Burger King. Why does she talk like a 5-year-old in certain scenes, but then she talks like a regular adult? I don't know. That was the one thing I couldn't get.
It's like what's it called? Like what is it, Stockholm syndrome, right? Where like when they get traumatized, they revert back to something else. Isn't that what the term is?
We're not doctors again.
I mean, you need to look that up. You need to delete that.
I'm not a doctor.
That's incredibly offensive.
Dr. Ian and his Twitter mute list back at it again.
Yeah, Vecna was killer. I mean, all the villains of Stranger Things have just been off the charts good. I mean, every single one has been awesome. And I got a little nervous with Vecna that it was going to be like kind of a Billy rehash. You know, how it's like the not a monster per se, but like a normal kid or whatever, and it's kind of around there. But they pivoted so far off it, like I didn't even think about that after like an episode or two. But it was so cool, because part of me, I was even like, oh, this is Vecna's going to be Billy. But the way like they dripped it out and sort of revealed it was going to be Henry or number 1 or whatever, it just worked. It worked perfection, like how they integrate with like, you know, Papa or whatever. You know, he wanted Henry to be the, you know, the person. I don't know. Did they have a name for like the superhuman they're trying to create? Whatever. And then it goes to L, and they compete back and forth. I mean, just all the things they set up to like be this like rising set of events, and then how it climaxes at the end where he's like, you did it this time. Like, you really screwed the pooch for killing me again. Like, I don't know. They clearly think about their things all the way through. And you can't say that about a lot of shows, especially shows that are like genre shows, because genre shows can lean on the fact like, well, you know, it's in ancient, you know, it's in Arthurian time, so X, Y, Z things could explain this. But they take the time to explain all these things that really don't require explanation, but they do it, and it makes everyone happier and so much better.
11, I'm back. 11.
How about Vecna being a full prosthetic makeup job on that guy?
Yeah,
that's insane.
The time lapse that he put up of him drinking Starbucks while getting the makeup on over 8 hours is incredible. Like, incredible stuff. I honestly would have been like, 30 million an episode. Yeah, this is a CG character. It has to be, right? That's where the budget is. But full on suit, insane.
Yeah, unreal.
What's your number 2, Ian?
My number 2 is the Master of Puppets sequence. Eddie as a whole, but the Master of Puppets sequence. I didn't watch any of the trailers, and from what I understand, they showed a part of that without the music, but like in the trailer, they showed Eddie on top of the RV. When they go on there, and he, you know, we're getting the most metal concert ever. You know, they kind of showed that thing with Iron Maiden, so I was like, oh, they'll do an Iron Maiden song, and I kind of, you know, I was like, oh, Black Sabbath, they could probably do, but when he hits the bam, 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 I was like, oh. I became Max off of the couch. I was elevating off of the couch, and it was incredible. I just everything about that, like, I think that's like going to be one of the best uses of music in any like movie, show, whatever, ever. Like, and just Eddie as a whole, like him and Dustin was incredible. Just his character of not being like accepted in the town was amazing. And again, I was like, oh, here's another like Billy rehash. And it's not a Billy rehash. Like, he's completely different and has different issues and like all this sort of stuff. And then the real gut punch at the end was like, you think his uncle is a piece of shit, which I guess he could be in however many ways. But like, his uncle was so sad he didn't get to see Eddie again. And when he was putting up the posters, he was like, I don't care what anyone says. Like, he was a good kid. And he has a moment with Dustin, just like, you know, they just write these characters who are like loners and losers, which is like, you know, the crux of the show of these kids and their D&D group. Like, the way they weave in these one season characters is unmatched. It's masterful. Like, I can't even imagine like how many other shows have tried doing one season character arcs that have faltered and follied. And every single one from season 1, like Barb, who like was kind of a meme, but people really cared about Barb, right? And then Sean Astin and Billy, and now, and now Eddie. It's like unbelievable. It's everything. They just need to teach classes about how they're able to write these characters and make you care about them so quickly.
Yeah.
So good.
And I love a good redemption arc story. And for him to not even like the town seeing him as the villain, but him seeing himself as a coward and not running from the fight and standing up to the bats and just taking the bike out, the shield, the bat, and then just standing there fighting him off until his death. I mean, incredible stuff. Incredible stuff for you. And I agree. And to have one season of a character, for you to care about him after 7 episodes or 8 episodes, wherever we're at 9, and to have that, to actually give a damn that he's dead. I mean, it's such a test to their writing of this season.
Yeah. And feel like you're going to miss him too, right? Like, you can do a sad death, but what's Dustin going to do? That was his boy, you know, like, you don't even think about Dustin and Steve. It's like Dustin and Eddie, you know, and like the real stakes in losing characters.
One thing I love about them leaning so hard into D&D is people with D&D knowledge at the end of this season are like, oh, this is what's going to happen to Eddie. Like, he's not gone. Like, there's a whole D&D story of this vampiric right-hand man of Vecna, and who was...
Excuse me.
Oh, have you not seen any of this?
Excuse me.
There's, I forget the name. It's like Kaz, Kas. And there was a guy, he was killed by bats, turned into a vampire, and became like the right hand of Vecna. And, but ends up somehow getting this mystical sword, which looks exactly like what Hopper wielded at the end of his battle, and defeats Vecna. Like, so it's almost like that's like real D&D storytelling. So this could be another piece of Eddie's story arc coming into season 5.
Got to tell James, Eddie was his favorite character.
It's a great character. He
was not pleased.
I bet. Yeah, Olive was not pleased either. She cried at his death.
Oh,
I also loved it. I think like when he was dying, he's like, I didn't run this time. I didn't run away.
Yeah.
She didn't run up that hill.
Good. So good. My number 2, I'll drift into like the runtime.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I remember when they announced this show, it's had a bunch of episodes, and then they were going to say like the final 2 episodes are like movie length, and everyone was like, WTF?
Right.
With that said, I thought it was amazing. Like the way that they had a 90-minute, second to last episode, and then 2.5 hours, 2-hour final episode. And I didn't feel the runtime like at all. I know some people were kind of bummed about the Russian stuff. James, my son especially, he like literally like was like Millhouse watching the Itchy and Scratchy meme. He's every time they went to Russia, he's like, oh, get back to Eddie. So I thought it all worked, especially the final episode where they tie up all the loose ends. Like everything gets so much room to breathe, and setting up, the final season. I mean, so much room to breathe to the point where like I forgot that Hopper was going to reunite with 11. Like as soon as they get back to the house, like the cabin, I'm like, oh my God, Hopper.
Right.
Hopper. And then I'm just like the last 45 minutes, I was just crying nonstop. So then when Hopper like walks in, I'm like, oh my God. Because remember his letter, that when she read that letter at the end of that last season, holy smokes, what a perfect ending. And then they get to reunite. Oh my God. I was just so blown away with their usage of time. I've been pretty critical of like, who's that one horror director, Mike Flanagan, who does like all the...
Lord.
He does not make the use of time on the Netflix prestige shows that I appreciate, whereas this really made use of the time. Like it didn't feel like it dragged. Everyone got a moment in the sun, no dead air. And it's just a perfect setup for the final season. Like the final season is going to be the greatest moment of our lives.
Yeah,
I feel like, right?
Are we packing up all of our families and watching it together as one? Every family gets 2 pauses an episode. Every family gets 2 pauses an episode. So
I mean, even like
wisely.
The setup that we're talking about redemption, but like Max potentially coming back. Like, I don't know what the plan is. Everyone's saying rumors of a time shift or whatever, but like potentially Max having a redemption arc of sorts, like a second chance, a third chance in the final season. Like I am going to die watching the final season. There's no doubt in my mind.
I'm on team Russia. Storyline wasn't that great. I liked it. I think it could have been a bottle episode because it just felt like they were just like kind of throwing it in whenever they like needed some time. And I really like didn't care for too much of it, but the finale stuff was cool. I didn't like freak out about the sword. I was mostly like, why is there a sword like in this place type thing? But the payoff with Hopper was great. You're right. I also forgot like, hey, they haven't seen each other. But I agree. Like
Abby agrees.
Abby, please.
Abby loved the sword.
But the way like they kind of teased out, Hopper when he like was faking being an alcoholic and all this sort of stuff, I thought that was super clever. But my only complaint is that, and it's super nitpicky, but there's no way that Russia and Indiana are at night at the same time. And assuming that final battle sequence was happening concurrently, it's not possible. That would have had to be either
Listen, the 80s were a crazy time. You don't know what was going on in the 80s. It was wild. I love the sword. The sword scene, another emotional putty moment for me when that sword is there and he looks down and the music is playing.
Yeah.
Like the second music, time running up the hill comes in, it's game over for me. Game over.
I really thought I was going to get tired of that song too, but man, every time I hear it, I still kind of jam out to it.
They only really used it twice. Really, like
I mean, yeah, you hear it over her earphones once in a while, but yeah, they really only blare it out a couple times. But for me, when the Journey song kicks in, that song, I mean, the needle drops in this season were all perfect.
So we're running out of time. We're recording this for disclosure. We're recording this. Danny's on vacation. Ian's about to get on a flight in minutes. We're recording this episode. Danny, what's your number 3 for Stranger Things 4?
We've kind of gone through them. Number 3 for me would be, I guess just the Duffer Brothers. Really, I can't get over and the world building that they were able to do between season 1 till now. Like everything felt kind of contained to Hawkins and Indiana, and even leading up through season 3. But with this, dealing with Russia and dealing with the final rip and rift into the Upside Down coming into Indiana, this now feels like massive on a bigger scale, on a global scale. Like this is now has the attention of not just local news and like weird things going on in Hawkins. Like this is they call it an earthquake. Like this is big time. And I can't get over how the Duffers have managed to continue to write an engaging story that can almost feel rehashed time and time again. Like, oh, here comes 11 using her powers, saving things. But somehow she felt like almost on the back burner a little bit as far as like in front of the story this time. And they have allowed other characters to shine, which I feel is like a big deal after we've now dealt 4 seasons of what feels like the same thing. And it really isn't.
Yeah, they're very obviously, all the kids and everyone in the cast is much more famous from when they started, but the way they utilize like Millie Bobby Brown's time, and they use like Hopper's whatever his name is, Hopper's time, because he's in like MCU now and all sort of stuff, was done really, really well. Like you couldn't feel that they obviously had like weird shooting schedules because were their other projects, but they were able to write it so well to like make everything feel cohesive. So yeah, again, Duffer Brothers just knocking out of the park.
Ian, final point. Stranger Things.
Kind of similar to Danny. I was going to say consistency is like the thing. It's extremely hard to find television that can keep it up like this. Obviously, famously, Game of Thrones completely screwed the pooch in those last couple seasons. But the Duffers and Netflix are just very smart in the way they are writing the show and not overdoing it. They're keeping it strict, like 8 episodes. Like they're long, obviously, but they're not trying to push it to keep people watching for another month and make it like 12 episodes, things like that. It's just consistency. And I am really, really cannot, like, I have no doubt in my mind they're going to completely nail the ending of season 5. And they haven't even announced the date. I don't think they finished writing it, right? From what I read.
No, they haven't even started writing.
Oh my God.
I know they have the roadmap till the end, and they said that they have like the final 20 minutes of the show written. So they have like a way to stick the landing, but I think they weren't even going to start working on it until like August.
Okay, so we'll see you guys in 8 years. Another pandemic.
My final point, it'll be the same pandemic. Right. My final point is calling out Will's character. There are so many amazing scenes with Noah playing Will. The car scene in particular, turning and crying out the window. Him and his brother, when his brother is telling him like, I'm here for you, not really alluding to him knowing anything, but like just you can talk to me. And him and Will like losing it in front of his brother, trying to hold it together. That his brother telling him he's there for him no matter what, no matter what's in your mind. And just in general, like Will being back in Hawkins, I started to get chills just thinking about Will back in Hawkins. Like, oh my, you guys are so effed. Will is effed. Everyone is screwed. Vecna's gonna try to get Will, and I'm like, I'm getting nervous. Will's in a fragile state as it is, so he's so susceptible to Vecna, his powers.
My fan theory for the finale or final season is that I think Will's gonna he's gonna choose to stay in the Upside Down and like rule it as like a good leader. Like they use that archetype is kind of used in fantasy and sci-fi a lot. And I feel like he's just not of this earth anymore. Since season 1, like at the end of season 1, he's still seeing things. Like at this, he's still saying he can feel Vecna, even though Vecna never really like engaged with him at all. And I feel like the whole thing just leading, everyone else is sort of moving on without me. I'm going to bring the Upside Down into this new era or something. That's very far-fetched, but that is my TM far-fetched fan theory.
Danny, honorable mentions and mystical letterbox rating that does not exist or is available right now?
Honorable mentions. I will die for Steve. He's his continued story arc and his way to stay alive. I love him. I love his performances. Mind-blowing moment when I love the idea that when 11 finds out Vecna's using Max's mind to attack, and she goes into Vecna's or Max's mind to protect her. I think like that was hurting my brain. Like when Argyle was trying to say it out loud what they were about to do. Like, yes, that's how I felt. Like, oh, holy shit, this is amazing. 5 stars this season. This has easily skyrocketed Stranger Things to maybe my favorite show of all time.
Oh,
it really has. I mean, already checks all the boxes of things I love. 80s kids, adventure, sci-fi. Like this is some of my favorite types of storytelling. So it was already there, but after this season, it's easily top tier.
Unreal. Honorable mentions is the way the Duffers made you think at least 4 people were going to die. They don't kill any of them and it doesn't bother you. Like the last hour of the finale, they're like all the pairings are all having their like moments in which most shows, these are their final words to each other. And so Tara and I were like gripping the couch, being like, well, I guess we're saying bye to, Steve's gone, Dustin's gone, Max is gone, whatever, all these sorts of things. And they don't do any of it and it doesn't bother you. Like I'm more happy that we're going to get all of them for the final season, at least for however many, however to make it through the end. So that is an honorable mention. Second honorable mention, shout out Pineapple Pizza. If you do not knock it until you rock it.
I have Pineapple Pizza muted on Twitter.
Stupid ass.
And then 5 stars. I mean, this is not even a question. Silly you're even asking. Also, Letterbox. If you're listening, if TV comes, Stranger Things, you can use this information. You can use this idea for free. Make the page upside down. Thank you.
Letterbox does not claim any
of
ownership.
himself. He is so proud of himself right now.
Matthew, I hope you stopped listening before he said that so that you can claim that it's your idea or that it was no one's idea. So yes, 5 stars, 6 stars. It should be 6 stars. Let's get a 6 star on there. God, the upside down heart. I mean, there's so many cool ideas you could do on a Letterbox page when TV hits, if it hits. I just feel like we're so lucky to have grown up with Amblin stuff, Star Wars, Goonies, and now we get to experience something that is just as good, if not better, with our own kids. That's just something that we probably won't really be able to think about for years to come, but so amazing. I loved Will yelling to 11 to fight. I love that stuff, and she finally does. The music, my God.
Unreal.
So good. Some of the, I haven't really said anything negative except for making fun of 11's voice and Papa. Some of the Vecna dialogue towards the end was a little repetitive. Like at the onset, some of his stuff was kind of cool, but then he just kept saying the same thing over and over again. Give him some new material. Please.
He hasn't talked to someone in however many years. Give him a break.
The end. It's the beginning of the end. He said that 100 times in the last 2 episodes. We get it, Vecna. Get some new material, please. But yeah, 5 stars. Incredible. They nailed it, and hopefully they nailed the final season. In 10 years, whenever it comes out.
You see, Duffers doing their own Upside Down Studios or whatever.
Yeah,
and they're doing the Talisman, the Stephen King.
I did read they're doing the Talisman. I had no idea anything about the Talisman. I will point out though that James saw the book in the show. He's like, wait a minute, that's the logo for, and I was like, puppy. But I have not read the Talisman. I just know that it's a thing that they took the logo font mark kerneling
Stop.
from.
Just stop. That's popcorn.
All right. So, Ian, welcome back after 2 years. Maybe it'll be another 2 years before you
Welcome
come on, right?
Who knows? We'll see.
You really want to come on for a certain movie. Do we want to talk about, maybe mention in passing what that movie might be that you want to come back on for?
We should just see if the villagers even want it.
They're going to want this.
Would anyone let us know in Discord if you would want Ian back on in the future for an episode on Interstellar, Christopher Nolan's sci-fi movie?
Yes.
Let us
Please.
know
I don't
in
even
the
know how
chat.
that came up. I think Danny and I were gushing about it, and we were fighting
Gushing.
either you or Proto. And
Not Proto. We were fighting Matt.
We were fighting.
Only
I
I
was,
was
I read a
fighting
lot.
I was
I
trying
don't
to give
lo-
a 50-50, okay? I was,
It was
Maybe
definitely
it's
Matt.
time for a revisit in 4K. You know,
oh, I have
Oh my
it, and it
gosh.
is.
those wheat
bet.
fields.
Speaking
you know?
of Papa,
All right, so that's it. Bonus episode. We're running out of tape. Check out the Cinenauts. I'll have an episode, a link in the episode notes. Check out Danny's beautiful art. Danny, thank you for
You're welcome.
thank you, Danny.
making time for this special bonus episode
Of course.
for Stranger Things. We'll see everybody next time.
Do you wanna know that it doesn't hurt me? Yeah, yeah. Do you wanna hear about the deal they're making? It's you and me.
70mm is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large, Dale_A. Transcripts provided by Sophie Shin and music composed by Cinematrix. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to pro or patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com. Goodbye.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.